We were at the end of the war.
In Camp Bowie, Texas. Okay. Well, I can't just describe what went on. It's kind of boring. Wasn't for me.
What was it? Continuing in the Army?
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that I was still alive after all war and all that. But I found myself was confused, and the 3rd Cavalry, which is being reassigned to Japan, the war was over there because the bomb had been dropped, the atomic bomb, and immediately they discharged almost all of the 3rd Cavalry that had come back from Europe. And I was discharged from the Army, sent back to Camp Shelby in Mississippi to be discharged. And almost felt like the end of the world with the end of the war. You didn't have all the type of war getting ready for. Life and death and all that goes with it. So I wound up discharged from Camp Shelby, and the first thing I did was get a big thing of ice cream, big one of these pasteboard gallon, and I ate all of it on the way out.
Is that like comfort food or
That
what?
was my celebration.
Celebration.
And we went down to camp to Gulfport and was a free citizen. But it was in the spring of 1947. And I was trying to get into college immediately, but it was already past all the colleges that I could go to. The semesters had already started, and I was too far into it to pick up another student. So I was flying around. I went to the Southern Mississippi, University of Mississippi, Mississippi State, Millsap, and of course Belhaven was a girls' school. Then I thought Mississippi College was not on a semester system, it was on a quarterly system, which one started one March. So I was able to get into Mississippi College. I thought I'd go down there over to Mississippi College, get some required work off, English, the basics, and then transfer to a state school the fall. But it didn't work that way. I went to church the first Sunday and sat behind a beautiful girl that was well diversified with the public. She had a whole flock of boys sitting with her in church, in Baptist church. But I sat by her and I fell in love with her. Actually, never spoke to her. She didn't even know I was in existence.
But that's the first time you saw her.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
Can't hear it, but it must be about me.
It is. Okay.
So I went with that idea that I was going to marry her, and she was the one. And I went back to the dormitory and told I say a friend, he was peculiar. He was president of the student body, but a real Bill Young. And he knew her. And he said, would you like to meet her? I said, you bet I would. So that's the way I got to meet Buick. And we went to, I was in Crustman Hall. She was in, with I don't know what that hall was, but we ate breakfast every morning and dinner every day in the cafeteria. And I got to know her pretty well. And we checked all of the benches they had out in the campus. At night, we sat and visited, and occasionally in the library, and Chat and Chew in different places.
What was the Chat and Chew?
Chat and Chew was
Is a grill or something, a little restaurant?
It was kind of a grill. It had stuff in it that I couldn't afford, but I liked to sit there. You'd cost a nickel for a grape hat or something like that. I'd occasionally buy a grape hat and doctor it for a long time. And they had the
What is that?
grape hat is a little grape drink.
Okay.
Don't have them. They're real good.
It's like a soda?
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. Soda, grape soda. And we would sit there and talk and listen to the music of they had, you know, those days everybody had the record playing machines that I could enjoy the music on somebody else's dime. But we did it pretty good. I was under GI Bill, which gave me a little money to live on, and they paid all my expenses at college. And another friend came along and said they wanted me to run for, it was like the student body jobs, and he was going to run for editor of the paper. And he persuaded me to run for assistant editor, which I did. And
Well, I didn't know that.
well,
Interesting.
I was surprised, but we had to make speeches in chapel, and I remember making a speech in chapel, saying who I was and all the experience I had and all that.
Were you nervous?
Yeah. And Bill was out there enjoying my nervousness. And eventually, in a week or so, we had an election and I was elected. My friend who was running for editor was killed in
How?
a wreck.
Oh.
And so I was not privileged to serve with him, but we had a good run of student newspaper. And I did some editorials and got up on my soapbox. Really, we could cause some temporary building to be built.
Just a minute. So now you were the assistant
Assistant
editor.
for a year. And my experience was I took basic English from Miss Tommy. And did real well because of my English teacher in high school had already taught me everything that they teach me in college about the English language. It was introductory grammar,
Oh, okay.
so I knew all that. It was real easy. And I remember the other subjects were very easy, and the time flew from the spring to about August when they were off for the summer quarter. And I was able to go home and get with my boat again, P-Rogue, and enjoy a little bit of relaxation. And
That was summer or
that was some.
Okay.
It was summer of 47, 1947.
mm-hmm.
And then I went on and I said, well, I can't go to Mississippi State. And I said, Beaver come along with me. And it wasn't going to happen that way. So we get more friendly and everything and had a real good time. We got to know each other pretty well, eating breakfast every day and dinner. And
She must have
probably-
liked you back. She wouldn't have done that, would she?
I don't know. She had everybody, all the boys were crazy about Dewey Mott. And she was crazy about him.
Mm-hmm.
But we got to know each other pretty well, and so I stayed at Mississippi College for another year. And then I was so firmly involved in the college and the teaching program. If I had to do it over, I'd do it just the same way
Mm-hmm.
because I loved that little college. It wasn't a huge university, but I had a professor, Dr. Caskey, William Malvern Caskey, who was head of the politics department, political science, and I studied under him with my major being that,
Mm-hmm.
and history, double major. And we went on, and I stayed in Christmas Hall, and we were married in 1947, well, a year later.
1 year later, you married her?
Really, our house burned down, and it looked like she might not be able to come back to school. Didn't have enough money with a burned down house, and I said, well, there's no point in quitting when you almost graduated. So we got married. Well, she could tell more about the wedding, because I was in shock most of the time.
What did he say?
He said you could tell me more about the wedding because he was in shock most of the time. He did talk about your house burning down, and I want to know that story from you,
Okay.
okay? You want to tell me now or you want to wait until tomorrow?
I'll just wait.
Tell me about what you thought when you first saw Dad.
He was making a speech running for office at Mississippi College, and he kept saying, my name is Bowden, Bowden, not Bowden. And
Still saying it.
and I thought he was the cutest thing I'd ever seen. He was so tall and handsome and funny. When did you stop being funny?
When I'm married to got serious.
Yeah, well,
Well, how did you know he liked you?
because he asked me on the campus one day if I would go out with him, and I was shocked.
Why?
And he said, when shall I get the princess from the castle?
Oh, that's so romantic.
I think he probably said that to a dozen other girls.
No, I didn't.
I think
said no, but I'm not so sure.
he had his eyes on you. Well, he said when he first saw you, you were in church with about 5 or 6 guys, so
Oh,
you had
that's
your
a
own.
Exaggeration.
No.
Wasn't it exaggerated?
No. It was a Baptist church and there were a lot of vacant pews around and plenty of room for boys to gather around.
Ah.
So we went out together, and he had just had a hamburger, and he had onions on the hamburger. And I said, I thought you didn't like onions. And he said, I don't, but they said it was the same with or without, and I wanted to get my money's worth.
Yeah,
And then he said he had, when we had to go, he said, I have a cold, so I'll just kiss you on the neck. And he kissed me on the neck, and I got butterflies.
Woo.
Yeah, that was romantic. So it went from there to sitting on the chapel steps and asking if I would marry him.
Aw.
And I had been asked that question several times by several other people, and it never crossed my mind to do it. I was like, yeah. But I had to say yes to that. So that was the way.
That was the
We got
way.
engaged. His mother said, you got to give her a ring. So he gave me a ring, and my roommates didn't believe it, but it happened. And then I went home for the weekend, and people had given me some beautiful gifts, some lingerie, beautiful lingerie. And I had my best clothes at home. And Joyce and I went to a movie, and Mother and Dad were with some relatives, and they went somewhere. And somebody came in the movie and got Joyce and me. And I thought Mother and Dad something had happened to them. And when we got out, they told us that our house was burning down. So that was a very sad thing. Everything I had burned, everything Mother had burned. I thought I wasn't going to get to go back to school, but they gave me a scholarship, and I did. And my roommates gave me a new pair of shoes, and some of the friends gave me some new clothes, but my beautiful lingerie was gone. And I hate that. And then Joe decided that since the house burned, we needed to go ahead and get married. And that's what happened. So we married without a dime, no money.
Well, how did you feel when you realized it was your house burning and it wasn't your parents?
I was not that unhappy, because to begin with, I thought Mother and Daddy had gotten killed. So that to me was nothing compared to losing them. So God has a way of working, making you put things in.
Yeah, in perspective.
Yeah.
One more question and I will stop for now. You both went through the Depression at the same time. How was that? Tell me a little bit about the Depression.
It was depressing. Well, Mother and Dad worked well, and Daddy did what he could making furniture, and we didn't have any money. And I remember finding a quarter one time, which was like finding a $1,500.
Wow.
In the process, I fell and I still have a scar on my leg from a bush sticking in me. But they did not do stitches, which they should have, because it's a big scar. A nickel bought a bag of jelly beans that big. That was a good thing. But we made it, and Mother one day was throwing some things in the fireplace and going through some old bills, and she picked up an envelope and held it up and gasped and opened it, and there was a $2 bill in it. Now, a $2 bill back then would have paid your house rent for a month.
Wow.
And we wore clothes that Mother made out of flour sacks with flour, little roses on them. And I saw on Facebook some other people had that experience too. And I got made fun of at school. They'd say, you're on welfare, and we were, 'cause I didn't care. I didn't know. We had to put post paper in our shoes because they get holes on them. We had to have some kind of cardboard. It was pretty bad.
Did you have any chickens or anything to give you any food?
They sent us flour and meal, and we ate a lot of biscuits.
Okay. Okay.
And we had a garden. We made a garden.
Oh,
We
good.
made a garden. Now, that was a good thing. Yeah, we were innovative. We didn't just sit by and put our hands out. We did things. I picked blackberries and sold them for 35 cents a gallon.
Wow. That's a
Yeah,
that's a gallon is a lot.
that's a lot of blackberries.
I'm thinking of another question though. Yesterday, Dad was talking about when you were told you could not have any children. How did that make you feel?
Terrible, terrible. I didn't really believe it. He said he had left one tube just in case and was going to doctor it, but he doubted if I ever would. And then Dr. Bain told me I probably never would. And then I thought I had the flu for 6 weeks. But it was you little rascal.
I'm sorry I made you sick.
Well, most babies do.
I bet it changed your life dramatically to
Well,
have
it
a
did.
baby.
It did. And I cried a lot because it had been 8 years and he left to go to work and I was alone all the time. Plus I had 50 stitches because you had a hard time
Ow.
getting here. Yeah, and that was hard too. Mama D came to stay with me, not my mother. And she came that close to dropping you. I mean, she was in the chair, but boy, she got you just before you hit that's a nightmare. And
Still in your mind, isn't
yeah, it really.
it? Okay.